This is the chilling footage of the evil teen who drove into his former workplace and murdered 8 of his former coworkers in cold blood. Growing up, his mother said that she saw the signs and even tried everything to get him help, but she never imagined the horror that her son was capable of.
I won't grieve his death. I can't. I grieve the victims' deaths because it's not anything I ever thought would happen. I know that he had problems, and I did try to get help. I tried so hard. And I thought mainly the fight was so that he wouldn't kill himself.
But how did things really get to this point? Let's look into the case of the teen mass murderer who killed all of his colleagues. On the Thursday of April 15th, 2021, Indianapolis police were having a normal night when all of a sudden, at around 11 p.m., calls started flooding in from frantic people reporting an active crime scene.
Somebody's shooting in my hub. I'm at FedEx in Plainsville.
What's the address?
There's gunshots everywhere.
Okay,
Please hurry.
What is the address?
The address is 8951 Mirabelle Road.
How many shots did you hear?
I don't know if anybody got shot. Can we go out down here? Can we run on way to the end and go out?
Don't go outside. Stay where you're safe.
8951 Mirabelle Road.
I want you to stay with me, okay? Don't hang up, okay?
Shut that door!
Marion County 911.
There's been a shooting.
Okay.
Multiple shots.
How many shots were fired?
A lot.
I think there's possibly multiple shooters. I hear them outside. I'm in the control room. There's 3 of us in here. Sorry.
Okay, so what I need for you guys to do, like I said, stay down, make sure your door is locked. Put something against that door if you can to keep yourself safe, okay?
Please. There's no upstairs.
Okay, they're on the way. They're on the way.
From the distressing calls, the police knew that this was huge, and so they dropped everything they were doing and rushed to the FedEx facility, which was located near Indianapolis International Airport. But what they found was so horrific that one officer would later describe the scene as something no one should see. The place was chaotic, with victims and witnesses scampering in different directions for safety. Amidst the chaos, police could see motionless bodies lying on the ground, which was filled with red spatters, bullet shell casings, and broken glass. A rattle of gunfire could still be heard inside the building, and then it stopped. When the police entered the building, that's when they got the full picture of the horror that had just transpired.
8 people dead, another 5 treated for gunshot wounds, 2 more treated at the scene. Indianapolis Metro Police have just released a photo of the gunman. Here he is, 19-year-old Brandon Hull, a former employee. Authorities say he started shooting randomly in the parking lot of the FedEx ground operations facility. Police say he then moved inside before killing himself.
And then we hear 6 shots fired rapidly, and then 10 shots. This leads me to stand on the bench that I was sitting at. And this is where I was able to get a full view of the building and the entrance door. I see a man walk outside with a black hoodie on from what I remember. It was really dark outside. And he had what looked to be an AR. And he yelled and then he started firing.
So, who was this guy, and why did he commit such a horrendous crime? Well, it turns out there were some red flags. Brandon Hull's troubles started at a very young age. At the age of 4, his dad offed himself after getting into an argument with his mother, Sheila, over his substance use.
I mean, he'd be real depressed one day and be like, I ought to just do what my dad did.
How did his dad kill himself?
So.
Okay. Did he find him or did he see that?
No, he was there when we got into a real bad argument, and his dad said that, hey, whatever, if you leave with the kids, I'm going to myself, and I said, go ahead. Okay. He was, I think, 4 then.
Although Brandon was not the one that found his dad, this left him completely traumatized, and he started being angry and resentful towards his mother and everyone around him. Sheila said that she started noticing Brandon's weird behavior while he was in 4th grade, and having experienced what she did with Brandon's father, she decided to get him help. She took him to Barrington Health Center, where he was diagnosed with obsessive-compulsive disorder and prescribed Lexapro, a depression and anxiety medication. However, that didn't seem to work because on May 16, 2013, Brandon, then 11 years old, was arrested after attacking his mother. According to the police report, Brandon was having a water fight with his mother's boyfriend, but got upset when he was sprayed with a hose pipe. He started yelling and spraying the inside of the house and then locked himself in the bathroom and began trashing it. Later, when his mother picked the lock, he charged at her and began punching and slapping her in the face, kicking her legs, and biting her. And like that's not already bad enough, he went and pulled out 2 table knives and began attacking her with them. Although Sheila managed to stay away from the knives, she ended up getting a few minor cuts on her right forearm. How crazy is that? And it will only get worse. On March 2nd, 2020, when he was 18 years old, Brandon did something that left his mother so scared she ran to the police for help.
And he was like, well, drive me to the gun store and I'll just look around. On the way to the gun store, we saw a sticker that said #stop. And he's like, there's your sign. And I was like, okay, well, if you buy a gun, there's your sign. You know, I got to take that away from you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and he did buy it without bullets.
Brandon had threatened to take his life before, so when he bought the gun, he didn't hide what he intended to do with it. Sheila said that she tried to talk him into going back to counseling, but he actually punched her. The police report from that day shows everything that Sheila told the officers. Later that day, several police officers came by the house and placed Brandon in handcuffs. Sheila said that she urged them to take away his computer, which had some white supremacist websites on it, and arrest him, but they didn't. Instead, they took away his gun and talked to him for about 45 minutes before driving him to a Zensky hospital for counseling. Sheila said it was at this point where her son should have been red flagged, but he wasn't, a mistake that would later cost so many their lives.
I just needed to talk to you about what happened with Brandon. My role in this is simply just to see if we're going to file a retention case. If they file a retention case, he would also be deemed to be a dangerous person, which only means that he wouldn't be able to purchase a firearm. This isn't a criminal record, and it's not, you can't even see it. Like if somebody were to search for criminal cases and stuff, these cases don't go into there because they're just civil. Once they get filed, like if I needed to check on one, I can't even do it. I have to send an email to the prosecutor's office and ask them to look because they're the only ones that can access it. So to see like what the status of it is.
Now get this, despite Brandon's mental history and the fact that he bought a gun and threatened to use it on himself, he was released from the hospital after only being there for less than 2 hours.
No longer than 2 hours was he at Eskenazi. And then I get a call. Well, I'm walking home, or are you coming to pick me up?
The doctor who examined him wrote on his report that Brandon had denied wanting to harm himself and assured him he was fine. Under the final diagnosis, the doctor wrote, none. This would be a fatal mistake. After this incident, Sheila was contacted by the FBI about the disturbing anti-Semitic content found on Brandon's computer. She agreed to meet up with an officer who asked several questions about her son, such as, is he a loner? Does he have a girlfriend? And does he get on 4chan, the creepy internet forum? After answering all the questions, Sheila said that the officer told her something quite terrifying.
And he turned to me and said, your son hits every red flag for a mass shooter. And that's when I say, well, then you need to go and arrest him and take his computer.
How insane is that? Sheila said that she started screaming and begged the officer to just arrest her son and take away his computer. But the FBI guy said that he needed to talk to Brandon first. And as you can already guess, the conversation between the FBI and Brandon did not go quite as planned. In fact, according to Sheila, it only antagonized him and made him even more unhinged. He hated the fact that the agent kept asking him about his obsession with the children's animation series My Little Pony, whose colorful posters were displayed all over his bedroom.
IMPD and the FBI and everyone involved cared not about him because obviously, and I speak to you like this, and here's what I'm saying. If a suicidal person has a gun and you take it away from him and you ultimately say, go ahead and get a better one, are you saying we care about you and we don't want you to hurt yourself? Or are we saying, yeah, go ahead and get a couple of them?
In August of 2020, Brandon moved out of his mom's house and got a job at the FedEx facility. Sheila was probably really proud of him, thinking that he was trying to get his life back in order. He even told a detective the same thing when she called him about his gun.
But I kind of just need to talk to you about what happened that day and how you're feeling about whether you'd want it back or if you...
Sorry to interrupt, but I don't want it back at all. It's fine.
What would be your goal for us to do with the gun?
Just destroy it.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'd say that. Because I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about getting my life back on track. I don't have any mental health issues that I'm aware of. I don't think I do. And I wouldn't say depressed, but my feelings to the reason why I got a gun is because I wanted to show my best friend who's really into hunting and stuff. Mainly also for like the fun of shooting it.
I mean, if you're getting it back on track, I don't know what it's off track of it unless it's just that you didn't get your high school diploma.
Off track. It's that. I'd say that. Do you think this, like, not doing anything with your life is on track? I don't think so.
But I also think that could make me sad and depressed if I felt like a failure or whatever, but apparently that's not what you're feeling, so.
I just signed up for GED. I'm going to get my GED. I'm going to counseling or therapy, or I'm not really sure what the correct term is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to get my life back on track, and I'm really trying hard.
At the time, the detective just wanted to assess where Brandon's mind was at and determine if he should be red flagged. Brandon managed to play it cool and pretend that he was not already planning to commit the most heinous crime in the history of Indiana. Terrifyingly, he later said this to his mother: "I have no empathy for anyone. I'm a danger to society. Society should be afraid of me." On the night of April 15th, Brandon had a quiet dinner with his mother and sister before taking a bath and making his final post on Facebook saying, "I hope that I can be with Applejack in the afterlife. My life has no meaning without her. If there is no afterlife and she isn't real, then my life never mattered anyway." The post featured the character Applejack from My Little Pony and was timestamped at 10:19 p.m. Less than a half hour later, Brandon could be seen pulling into the parking lot of his former workplace. Police believe that he chose FedEx simply because he was familiar with it and he knew that this would be the busiest time because of the shift change. He went into the building and talked with the security officers before returning to the parking lot and pulling out 2 rifles that he had bought months earlier. He is then seen on CCTV footage walking casually as he fires at random people in the parking lot before entering the building to continue his onslaught.
We heard 2 loud metal clangs at first because they didn't sound like gunshots at first. Because there was a loud clang after the first 2, then we heard 3 more shots, and then my buddy Levi saw someone running out of the building, and then more shots went off. Somebody went behind their car to the trunk and got another gun, and then I saw 1 body on the floor.
In a span of just 4 minutes, Brandon had killed 8 people, 4 at the parking lot and 4 inside the building. He also injured more than 5 before turning the gun on himself.
This suspect came to the facility, and when he came there, he got out of his car and pretty quickly started some random shooting outside the facility.
Those who lost their lives that day were Matthew Alexander, 32, Samaria Blackwell, 19, Amarjeet Joel, 66, Javinder Kaur, 50, Amarjeet Sekhan, 48, Jaswinder Sin, 68, Carly Smith, 19, and John Weissert, 74. What makes this case really messed up is that Brandon killed all of these people for no reason.
There was no confrontation with anyone that was there. There was no disturbance. There was no argument. He just appeared to randomly start shooting, and that began in the parking lot, and then he did go into the building before he took his own life.
The FBI later concluded that Brandon's actions were motivated by an act of suicide murder intended to demonstrate his masculinity and capability while fulfilling a final desire to experience killing people.
I just want people to know that if there's something wrong, I wish I could tell them who to call, because I can tell them, maybe they could call me and I would try to help them, because now I have nothing. You want to see me bust down some doors and get you some help? I bet I do. Maybe I didn't do it for my son, but I will for you.
But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and as always, if you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.